Hi everyone, myself Dr. P. Soumya, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. In this session, I am going to discuss about values of biodiversity. So, I am going to cover the topics what is biodiversity and what are the values of biodiversity. So, first we should know what is biodiversity. Biodiversity, it is also known as biological diversity. Biodiversity, it is also known as biological diversity. It refers to range of life forms on the earth. So, biodiversity or biological diversity, it is refers to the range of life forms. The range of life forms on the earth. The biosphere comprises of complex collection of innumerable organisms known as the biodiversity. The biosphere on the earth, biosphere comprises complex collection. So, collection of organisms. So, this is known as biodiversity. Biodiversity, it is also known as biological diversity. It refers to range of biological or life forms on the earth. It is the biosphere comprises of complex collection of innumerable organisms known as biodiversity. So, this biodiversity which constitutes the vital life support for the survival of human race. So, here this biodiversity biosphere constitutes the vital life support for the survival of human. So, this includes millions of plants, animals and also microorganisms, genes, and they contain and also ecosystems of which they are a part. The biodiversity, it includes millions of plants, animals, microorganisms and also genes of respective plants and animals, and also the ecosystem of the which they are in part. So, why loss of biodiversity is taking place means every day around the globe species are being lost. So, we know that every day around the globe species. So, these are being lost, others are being pushed towards extinction. So, the Earth's biodiversity, it is more threatened today than any other time in the past. The Earth's biodiversity, it is more threatened today than any other time in the past. So, during last 200 million years, 100 to 1000 species became extinct in each country, each century. If we take each century, so during last 200 million years, 100 to 1000 species. So these became extinct in each century. But evolution also brought forth new life forms, replacing species that are lost. So today we are losing about 1500 species in every 2 months. So during last 200 million years, 100 to 1000 species became extinct in each century. But today we are losing about 1500 species in every 2 months. So here this is about loss of biodiversity every day around the globe. So we have here economic terms. So these economic terms, these are economically, they are main two types of values of biodiversity. So here values of biodiversity, it is two types. So they are use value and also non-use value. So here the biodiversity, values of biodiversity. So economically they are mainly two types. So mainly two types, use values and also non-use values. Use values, under use values, So again, it is divided into three types: direct values, indirect values, option values. So in non-use values, bequest value, that is willing to pay for its existence, and also existence value. So here this existence value, knowing its existence. So use values, direct values, indirect values, option values, non-use value, bequest value, and also existence value. So these are economic terms. These are economically values of biodiversity divided into two types: use values and also non-use values. Use value, it is divided into direct values, indirect values, option values. Non-use value, bequest value, and also existence value. So this is about the total economic value. We know that it is divided into two types: use value and also non-use value. Under use value, this is again divided into three types: direct value. So this is extractive use value. Direct means it is extractive, direct use value. So indirect, it is non-extractive use value and also option value. Under non-use value, existent value, bequest value. So these both are contingent valuation. So here this is our total economic value and our division of use value and non-use value. So direct values, if we see the direct values are concerned with the enjoyment or satisfaction received directly by biological resources. So direct values means these are concerned with the enjoyment or satisfaction received directly by the biological resources. So they can be relatively easily observed and measured. So these can be direct values. They are relatively easily measured and also observed, often by assigning prices to them. So they can be relatively easily observed and measured and often by assigning prices to them. So these direct values, two types: consumptive use, that is non-market value; productive use, commercial value. So this is direct values are two types: consumptive use value and also productive use value. That is, productive use value is commercial value, consumptive use value is non-market value. So if we see the consumptive value, this is value of nature's product. Consumptive value, it is the value of nature's products that are consumed directly. The value of nature's product that are consumed directly, such as firewoods, fodder and meat. So these are under consumptive value. The values of nature's product that are consumed directly, such as firewoods, fodder and meat. So in other words, the products which are consumed directly without passing through the market. So that is, in other words, the products which are consumed directly without passing through the market. So these are consumptive value. The value of nature's products that are consumed directly without passing through the market. So consumptive use value is seldom appear in national income accounts. So consumptive use values, so these are the most important point of consumptive use is that some rural communities closest to the forest or other natural areas can prosper through the sustainable harvesting of wildlife species. So this is hunting, direct consumption. So example, collection of berries, mushrooms, herbs, plants. So these are consumptive uses. So if we see the rural communities which are closest to the forest or other natural areas, so these can prosper through the sustainable harvesting of wildlife. So they can hunting, they can use these natural products by using hunting, direct consumption. Examples of these are collection of berries, mushrooms and herbs and plants and also vegetables. So these are come under consumptive value. So consumptive value, it is a value of nature's product that are consumed directly by the humans without passing through the market. So here next use is productive use value. So this productive use value, it is products that are commercially harvested for exchange in formal markets. Each species it is valuable to humans. So products that are commercially harvested for exchange in formal markets. So these products are passing through the markets. Products that are commercially harvested for exchange in formal markets. Each species is valuable to humans. So the global collection of genes, species, habitats and ecosystems, it is a resource that provides for human needs now. So it is also essential for human survival in the future. So this is often the only value biological resources that is reflected in the income accounts. So productive uses, these are the products such as animal skins, ivory, medicinal plants, honey, bee wax, fibers, gums, etc. So these are products that are commercially harvested and these are exchanged in formal markets. So this is about productive use value. So in indirect values, the direct values are productive use value and consumptive use value. So in indirect values, these are the deals primarily with functions of ecosystems. The indirect values directly primarily with deals primarily with the functions or ecosystems, do not normally appear in national accounting systems, but they may outweigh direct values when they are computed. And also they reflect the value of biological diversity to society locally or at large rather than to individuals or corporate entities. So direct values often derive from indirect values because harvested species of plants and animals are supported goods and services provided by the environment. So this is about indirect values. So two types of indirect values are the non-consumptive use values. So here social values, ethical values, aesthetic values, optional values. So we have two types of indirect values. In that non-consumptive value is use value is there. So in that social values, ethical values, aesthetic values, optional values. So if we see the non-consumptive values, these are the indirect values of ecosystem functions such as the watershed protection, photosynthesis, regulation or climate or production of soil. Pollination, habitat for the other species. These are non-consumptive values. So these are indirect values of ecosystem functions. Indirect values, these are non-consumptive values. These are indirect values of ecosystem functions such as watershed protection, photosynthesis, regulation, pollination and also habitat for other species. So these are non-consumptive values. So if we see the social value, that is biodiversity in India, particularly it is important for its religious, spiritual and also other cultural uses. So many plants and animals have ritual significance. The entire ecosystem, it is utilized for cultural, spiritual purposes. So this is the social value. Some examples of social values are among auspicious flowers offered in temples or hibiscus offered to the goddess Kali. Datura flowers, these are offered to the Shiva. Gujarat Sami, this is used sacrificial fires. And sacred value was attached to patches of the forest believed to be the abode of gods and ancestors and utilized only for prayer and related rituals. So a network of such sacred groves, it is still in evidence in some parts of India. So these are social value. So it is biodiversity, social value. It is a biodiversity in India. It is important for its religious, spiritual and also other cultural uses. Ethical values. So ethical values, these although economic arguments can be advanced to justify the protection of biological diversity, there are also strong ethical arguments for doing so. So protecting biological diversity can be justified on ethical grounds as well as on economic grounds. So ethical arguments assert that humans have a duty to protect species based on their intrinsic value unrelated to human needs. So the people do not have the rights to destroy the species and should take action to prevent their extinction. And also the loss of one species have far-reaching consequences to biological community and human society. People must learn to live within the ecological constraints of the planet, and they must learn to minimize the environmental damage and take responsibility for their action. So people also have to have the responsibility to future generation of humans to keep the earth in good condition. So these are the ethical values of biodiversity. So aesthetic values, these are the regardless of our own material self-interest, we should treat nature respectfully. And enlightened self-interest arguing that preserving biodiversity and developing our knowledge of it us will make us better and happier people. So nearly everyone enjoys wildlife and joy makes our lives good lives. The loss of biodiversity could very well limit the creative energies of people in the future and thus restrict the development. Examples of aesthetic values are the beauty of wildflowers in Glacier National Park. The beauty of wildflowers in Glacier National Park, hiking, canoeing, and the mountain climbing are physically, intellectually, and emotionally satisfying. And also, people spend tens of billions of dollars annually in these pursuits and prove enough of their values, aesthetic values. Optional value, the intangible values of biodiversity, that is keeping options for the future and simply knowing that certain species exist. A species potential to provide economic benefits to human society at some point in the future is its option value. So as the needs of society change, so must the methods of satisfying those needs. So the option value of species could be only recently utilized by human beings. Examples of option values are health agencies and pharmaceutical companies are making a major effort to collect and screen species for the compounds that have been ability to fight the cancer. Examples of optional values are health agencies and also pharmaceutical companies. These are making a major effort to collect and screen species for compounds that have the ability to fight against the cancer. So in some cases, well-known species have been found to have exactly those properties needed to deal with the significant human problem. So here valuing non-use values. Non-use values including bequest and existence values are usually always measured. So in valuing non-use values, including bequest and also existence values are always measured using some form of CVM contingent valuation. Cultural values may be very important in non-use values. Example, Lake Haven in Armenia. And also values may be small per person but large when aggregated. So notice non-use values are usually harder to sell to decision makers, but for some types of biodiversity, example the panda and blue whale, non-use values account for almost all of the economic value measured in TEV, total economic value calculation. So this economic values, so these are assessing benefits and cost of protecting biological resources provides a basis for determining the total value of any protected area or other systems of biological resources. The value of conserving biological resources can be considerable. Conservation should be seen as a form of economic development. So the value of conserving biological resources can be considerable. Conservation should be seen as a form of economic development. Biological resources have economic values. Investments in conservation should be judged in economic terms. And also valuation is easiest for direct use values, quite difficult for indirect use values, and very difficult for non-use values. Valuation, it is easiest for direct use values, quite difficult for indirect use values, and very difficult for non-use values. So what is the value of tree? The value of a tree. So the tree that lives for 50 years generates the tree which lives for 50 years, this generates rupees 5.3 lakhs worth of oxygen, recycles rupees 6.4 lakhs worth of fertility, and facilitates 6.4 lakhs worth of soil erosion control, and creates 10.5 lakhs worth of air pollution control, and also it provides 5.3 lakhs worth of shelter for birds and animals. So this is the value of tree. If we take a tree which lives for 50 years, this generates rupees 5.3 lakhs worth of oxygen, and it recycles 6.4 lakhs worth of fertility. It facilitates 6.4 lakhs worth of soil erosion control, and it creates 10.5 lakhs worth of air pollution control, and also provides 5.3 lakhs worth of shelter for birds and animals. So besides, it provides flowers, fruits and timber. Besides these uses, it provides flowers, fruits and timber. So when one tree falls or one is felled, something worth more than 33.9 lakhs is lost. So when one tree is lost means, so here's something that worth more than 33.9 lakhs, it is lost by ourselves. So we should protect the trees. So here the total economic value, the TEV approach and biodiversity. The TEV, it is a sum of all these values, but in the case of biodiversity, much of the value may lie in the indirect use and non-use portion. So this includes both use values and also non-use values. Use values include direct use, both consumptive and non-consumptive, indirect use and optional values. Non-use values include bequest value and existence values. Economic values are people dependent. Remember that there are few or no economic values that are not directly linked to human uses or desires. So there are few or no economic values that are not directly linked to human uses and desires. And people often do not understand what the real question is. Therefore, the market values may be poor reflections of ecosystem values or pure biological uniqueness. But markets and prices often drive government and private actions. So valuing the non-measurable. Some uses are values associated with biodiversity. So these are impossible to measure. Some uses are values associated with biodiversity. These are impossible to measure. This may be include the following. That is unknown genetic material, global life support services. It is an infinite value. Global life support services, cultural and religious values. So in Hawaii, the native Hawaiians value the sea and the land very highly. So here, so some values associated with biodiversity, these are impossible to measure. So these may include unknown genetic material, global life support services, cultural and religious values. So this is about biodiversity and values of biodiversity. And thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.